Hello, everyone. I am George Androulakis, professor at the University of Thessaly in Greece, and director of the Greek Language and Multilingualism Lab, GLML, which is a member of ECSPM. I am happy that the 2020 ECSPM Symposium finally takes place, even digitally, in these COVID times. And this is my pre-recorded talk, so that we have more time to discuss during the symposium issues raised in my presentation. My talk concerns the MEinART project, a project of which I am the principal investigator. And the title is How Multilingual Creative Practices Shape Migrant Women's Identities. The outline of the talk. First, I will present the identity of the project, and then the social and ideological underpinnings of the design and implementation of the project, the methodological choices we made so that we achieve the participation of migrant women, and after having presented some of our activities and interventions, I will finish my talk showing how from creativity and arts-based intervention we can go to theoretical implications and the other way around. The identity of the MEinART project. The title of the project is Creative Multilingualism with Refugee Women, from Practice to Research to Education. So MEinART is the acronym. The funding organization is ELIDEC, which is the Greek Foundation for Research and Innovation. The budget, the overall budget is 180,000 euros. The duration is of 3 years, 36 months, from November 2019 to October 2020. The main goal of the project is to identify and explore the value of multilingual or translingual practices as sources of creativity for migrant and refugee women. More specifically, the objectives of the project are the following three: to investigate how multilingual and translingual creative practices shape identities of women with a refugee or another background, to investigate the potential of using modes of art and creative applications of information and communication technologies, ICT, for the multilingual, translingual self-expression of women speakers. And third, to design alternative, digital, blended, and face-to-face learning spaces that will facilitate and valorize women's identities. I come to the social and ideological underpinnings of the conception and the design of the project. The social context is the one of the reception crisis in Greece, and I prefer this concept in the place of refugee crisis. This so-called refugee crisis is above all a crisis of the host society. In the context of financial crisis, xenophobic attitudes and behaviors are common. And what is needed is a systematic educational, social, and political reaction to that. In fact, with regard to the refugees, Greece is a transit country since refugees aim at relocating in other European countries to a great extent, or a limbo country since refugees live and feel in an uncertain situation. We perceive refugees as diverse social groups with fluid everyday needs and changing future plans, contesting the one concrete experience related with the refugee status. This is a unique perception of all the refugee populations, is in our perspective a very simplistic and rather dangerous view of the phenomenon. Refugee women. They are one of the most underprivileged and under-researched groups that experience the impact of forced migration. Refugee women's subject positions have been invisibilized, infantilized, or paternalized in representations. Specifically, until recent decades, refugee women's interests have largely been represented as absent from, incidental to, or marginal within mainstream human rights discourse. And their voices have not typically been incorporated in research, planning for service provision, and policy design. Additionally, in some countries from which refugees flee, mainly in Africa and in Asia, the embargo on voice has been so great that individuals have disappeared in a process of silencing. This gives prominence to the importance of refugee women's autonomy as the capacity to self-narrate and self-represent. So why creativity and ICT in a project with refugee women? Modern era has shaped citizenry to value its logical order, whereas the digital age is fashioning people to seek a new order, which, according to Syme, 2017, echoes creative thought. Modern education continues to focus on the pedagogical primacy of conventional numeracy and literacy, marginalizing creative thought processes, which, activating and expanding multiple literacies, lead to disputing the primacy of clock time and physical spaces in the digital space, in the space of flows. Particularly for refugees, digital media and spaces receive added value utility and functionality, addressing a great range of their needs, such as communicating, networking in the host society towards integration, getting informed, navigating, expressing themselves, and actually developing their linguistic, cultural, and social capital. So, as a consequence, our methodological choices for the MEinART project. First, encourage linguistic and semiotic creativity. Diversity of language practices and conceptualizations, which are creative by definition and lead to self-actualizations of the language speakers. These diverse practices may include what different scholars have called heteroglossia, crossing, polylingualism, translanguaging, and metrolingualism, translingual practices. Conventional literacies seem to be questioned in the context of multiple literacies, with an emphasis on digital literacies, including communication literacy and web literacy. Then, multimodality is at the heart of new perceptions of language as an entity of semiotic resources, and according to Kanagarajah, these diverse semiotic resources work together as an assemblage without the possibility of separating them. As a consequence, we are compelled to move from language towards semiosis and from linguistics towards a new sociolinguistically informed semiotics. Regarding our educational interventions, designing well-being focused, arts-based language learning interventions in order to integrate the voices of local and refugee women in common artifacts and individual or group performances. MEinART project, from a social justice perspective, aims at challenging the narrow, limiting, and formulaic representations of refugee women, drawing attention to the discretely gendered nature of the refugee experience and its impact upon women's educational lives. Focusing on aspects of women's personal and educational hair stories, which include a reflection of the operation of agency in their educational lives, we finally aim at empowerment. MEinART is a project of public pedagogy, applying arts-based approaches to explore creative multilingualism's role in facilitating capabilities for freedom, as Olsen puts it, voice and visibility, or multilingual digital storytelling. We intend to privilege women's subjugated knowledges, increasing opportunities for embodied marginal subjects to offer different perspectives to the dominant discourse through linguistically creative and artful expression. We consider public pedagogy as the pedagogy in the interest of publicness. Public is a citizenship of strangers which is not after a common ground, but rather articulates an interest in a common world, as Biesta states in 2012. So, focus on creativity. Creativity in order to integrate the sociopolitical complexity into our educational interventions, legalize alternative ways of showing and alternative ways of knowing, and thinking as critical and more just lens in order to shape new ways of learning, teaching, and living. Creativity as multi-level lens for designing processes, creation of educational material, arts-based methods, awareness raising, evaluation and reflection processes, deconstructing power relations, team building processes, and intercultural relationships and friendships, challenging dominant ideologies, and performing resistance and counter narratives. 2. Create, encourage a hopeland, reduce inequalities in participation, reduce barriers from refugee camps to the outside world, reduce ethnic barriers, and to put it more generally, to move from the forced immobility. So, in this context, and if we bear in mind these ideological, social, and methodological choices, in MEinART project, we implement real-time and place creative activities. You may see here 2 photos from an activity of nails painting. We explore creativity as resistance and counter narratives, as I said. You may see in this slide 3 pictures from space of expression of the feelings of teachers with the help of refugee women who are their students. And as you may see, there are paintings and images of reaction and of anger. The second picture here in the bottom says in Greek, "Isep είναι θυμωμένη." It means teachers specialized in refugee education are angry. And then on the right, the picture on the right, you may see the place where courses take place, and this building itself serves as a background for expression of art, of paintings, of collage, and of expressing themselves. An area, a space where students may express themselves. Creativity towards deconstructing power relations, with an example of people from the members of the project team working with refugee women and trying to understand and reproduce a melody which is proposed by a refugee woman. And then a second example of coming from a teaching material where there are objectives even from the teachers. It means that in the learning process, not just the students have objectives to attain, but also the teachers have multilingual and intercultural objectives to attain through the teaching materials we create. Then creativity for awareness raising, and an action we call Find Refuge in Art. It starts with the production of artifacts, paintings, and other artifacts in the places where refugee women live. And it may take the form of an artistic exhibition, which has happened already 2 times in past projects of our lab. And 2 artistic exhibitions are also planned in the framework of the MEinART project. So creativity also in evaluation and reflection processes. And you may see here on the left an evaluation sheet of an activity which is multimodal, and it is not limited to text and even more Greek or just English text. So a multilingual text is combined with other semiotic resources. And then the picture on the right of the slide, we may see production of collective painting as a meaning of expression of the feelings that a training, a learning activity has created to the participants. So we saw some examples of creative activities. These interventions nourish and give food for thought for theoretical implications. The expression of feelings is crucial in our project. Sentimental education is aimed at modifying the way individuals feel by cultivating moral feelings. Zembillas in 2016 states that the aim of education is a critical inquiry of inequalities and abuses in a way that touches learners affectively, yet not superficially. And public pedagogy is conceived in these practices as a pedagogy of solidarity. Anti-oppressive and arts-based research have the potential to disrupt entrenched power relations. A great challenge in order to create social justice change is to carefully consider the tools we use to bring this change about, and ensure we are, I quote, not simply replacing one form of disempowering representation, that is the absence of or under representation of refugee women's issues and voices, with another, a victimized representation of refugee women that undermines agency. Macpherson 2015. Therefore, actualizing the potential of these methodologies requires constant critical self-reflection and self-awareness. Where method meets art, learning and the ability to learn is reconceived as being a creative sort of thing. Fajai, refugee woman, as cited in Macpherson 2015, and combining artistic practice with the practice of qualitative research, crafts is with the practice of qualitative research crafts is expected to result in interdisciplinary, synesthetic, and embodied perceptions of learning and alternative learning spaces. Within these alternative educational contexts, women with a refugee and other backgrounds are expected to rediscover themselves as creators of knowledge and agents of social action and change, and reimagine their lives. Thank you for your attention.